Mrs. Kelly, isn't it true that you told Deputy Monreal that you heard 4 shots?
I'm gonna object to leading.
She can answer. You can answer.
I was not counting. My husband was out there facing these guys with guns. And you think I'm gonna stand there and count how many times I hear a shot? You're crazy.
Mrs. Kelly, I'm just asking you if that's what you told him.
I did not tell him 4. I told him I saw 2. That's all I saw.
We're talking about the shots now.
Now the shots. Well, I did say maybe 5 or 6 later, but I don't know.
Isn't it true, Mrs. Kelly, that you told Deputy Monreal that you believed it was 4 shots?
I don't remember talking to that deputy, so I don't remember telling him 4 shots.
So you disagree with his report?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor, I'm objecting. She said she didn't know and remember talking to him, so she can't testify to him.
And you said that you couldn't tell them apart. You couldn't tell them apart. Is that right?
Couldn't tell what apart.
The deputy.
No, I could not, except that one was a lady.
So you don't know which ones you spoke to, or
No,
if you
I do
spoke to
not.
the same, different ones.
I don't know if I spoke to same ones, different ones. The only 2 I remember is Detective Ainza and Barba.
But you spoke to the deputies that day, right?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Now, you also spoke to Deputy Castaneda that day. I'm going to show you his report. This is State's Exhibit 1. Could you take a look? And you gave Deputy Castaneda a different answer with respect to what you heard. Is that right?
Okay, what was your question?
My question is, you gave Deputy Castaneda a different answer about what you heard that day, right?
I don't even see in there what he said I heard. I'm sorry.
Let me take you to the line. You'll look at the last paragraph, and it's in the last line, and then you can flip over to the next page if you like.
I see what he says.
And you gave him a different answer than you did to the other deputy, didn't you?
If they remember it differently, then yes, I guess I did. All I ever said was I saw 2. I don't know how many there were. I didn't see the others. I saw 2.
We're talking about the shots right now. And you
And
told
shots, I don't remember the shots. I don't know whether I told him 4 and him 5 or 6. Because it's irrelevant. I mean, he shot. You found the things, but what does it matter if I remember 4 or 6?
Ma'am,
Ma'am?
can you answer my question, please? Did you tell Deputy Castaneda that you were confused about what you heard?
Your Honor, I'm gonna object to asked and answered.
Repeat the question.
Sure. Didn't you tell Deputy Castaneda that you were confused about what shots you heard?
I hope so.
That's
I
just
don't
an
know.
objection. She's testified before I was. She's answered that question before. Not what
Okay.
she told the deputy. She's made it plain that she
let's move on to your conversation with Detective Ainsa. You met with Detective Ainsa that night. We talked about that already, correct?
Correct.
And when you spoke to Detective Ainsa, you talked about the incident at length. Is that right?
I don't remember at length. I answered his questions.
And when you spoke to Detective Ainsa, the first time you went through your story, you didn't say anything at all about Alan shooting at anyone, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, when the detective asked you for it, the Ainsa interview, page 7. Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 16. If you could turn to page 7, please. And if you could look specifically at line 9, please.
Do what?
If you could look specifically at line 9 and 10.
Line 9, okay.
9 and 10.
Okay, I've read line 9 and 10.
Okay. And did you say to him, and what did your and do after and he's asking you what he did when you went outside, and you said he was watching him and then he followed him. I'm sorry, and he said, and what did he do outside? And you said he was watching him and he followed him. Is that right?
Correct.
So at that point, you didn't tell him at all about Alan shooting. Is that right?
Correct.
In fact, it wasn't until the detective told you that your husband had already admitted in an interview that he shot that you talked about
Objection,
Alan
lady.
shooting, correct?
Stay, don't ask the questions.
When was it that you told Detective Ainsa that your husband shot his weapon during that interview?
I do not know.
Was
I don't
it-
know what specific time or question or whatever.
Okay, so let me just back up a little bit. So my question to you was, you didn't tell Detective Ainsa initially when you told your story that your husband had shot his weapon, right?
Right?
And then later in the interview, you did tell him that he shot his weapon. Is that right?
Yes, I guess.
And what was it that happened that Detective Ainsa told you that caused you to tell him that your husband had shot his weapon?
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fair. At some point during the interview, you admitted your husband had shot his weapon. Is that right?
Yes.